My siblings and I know our father's story like we know our own. Our earliest memories include him nursing his injured leg, having to descend steps canted a bit sideways to favor his weaker right leg, seeing him lying on the couch with his leg elevated, often a bit of a fever, a bit of drainage that continued off and on his whole life, the mass of tissue atop his right shin, and occasional injections delivered by his wife, his former nurse, our mother. All of us held that he was brave, that he had been lucky, and that with a stronger pharmaceutical industry in 1943, he would have recovered from his wounds completely. His body was a patchwork of scars, mostly from where tissues had been removed and transplanted to his leg as part of the more than 30 surgeries he'd endured. As kids, he told us those scars were left when he was run over by a tractor. We thought he must have been tough to have survived being run over by a tractor. Our father would speak about the crash, his crawl down the mountain, and his rescue, but only as his children grew older, never in great detail, and only when asked. As my father, Leonard Richardson, neared the end of his life, he wrote a short narrative entitled The Crash of 43. In it, he briefly described his arrival to the South Pacific, the unit to which he was assigned, his experiences on the island of New Caledonia, and his flights out of Espiritu Santo. He wrote in some detail about the events of September 5th, the crash, his efforts to save himself, and his rescue. For us, his was a heroic story. To us, he was a hero. We were never embarrassed at his disability, never apologetic about his limp. And on the few occasions when he would reach out for a shoulder to lean on, it was an honor to be the one whose shoulder it was. Sons and daughters will respond to their heroes, and we all surely did, each in our own ways. As with many of the baby boomer generation, among his children, Leonard's passing summoned thoughts of conversations they might have had, but never did, and of the details of his war service about which they knew very little. After a time, his family began, tentatively, to look for more details about his life and his service during the war. This book is the result of 12 years of research to provide the context to Leonard's own narrative, to create an understanding of what role the man played in the vast industrial war that was in full cry in the South Pacific in 1943, and to explain how he and the victims of the crash came to be in that aircraft at that time and in that place.